The following podcast is brought to you by the Johners Podcasting Network, found exclusively at WrestlingWithJohners.com.
Hi, this is Brad Marcus from Toilet Side Wrestling Talk fame, here to give you two public service announcements. The first, please spay your pets. Bob Barker doesn't say that just to create air. And secondly, please go get vaccinated for COVID. I was vaccinated twice and got a booster once, and I still caught COVID. I'm on day 8, and it's fucking awful. I'm constantly exhausted. My muscles and joints ache. I have a killer headache. My throat is sore. I lost taste. I'm congested. So it really sucks. So go get vaccinated as many times as you can. I don't see more than 2 hurting, but as many as you can. And so you won't get this and we'll stop the spread. So let's get on to the show. This is Brad Marcus, and welcome to another episode of Toilet Side Wrestling Talk. Today's guest hails from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and began his in-ring career in 2017. He's worked for such promotions as MCW, Primal Conflict Wrestling, Southwest Wrestling Entertainment, Pele Pro Wrestling, River City Wrestling, and of course, Ring of Honor. He's held the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team championships as part of Shane Taylor Promotions. He's also held the MCW tag team championships. Along the way, shared the ring with the likes of Danhausen, PCO, Dame Judi Dench, Gary J, Kenny King, Homicide, Rhett Titus, Jay Lethal, and I could go on and on. So let's welcome today's guest, someone who's not scared of his massive shadow. I give you Kaun. Hey, how are you?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
So you probably can't tell, but if I lift my shirt, my body looks nothing like your body in that past. Okay, I'm 45 years old. Is there any way without like me having to use like steroids or anything, which I guess I would, but how long would it take me to get to where you are?
Oh, man.
Physically, would it take me like 10 years, like something, or can my body even, get that strong at this point?
I think so. I don't think it would take 10 years. I do tell people that are younger than me that ask me how long I've been working out for, like how long it took to get this physique. I say 32 years. Like that's how long it's going to take.
Okay.
But like a staple of mine is intermittent fasting. I've been doing that for like 5 or 6 years. That alone I think has helped tremendously. Not even like physique wise, but just like sleeping better, feeling better throughout the day. That's helped tremendously.
So is this now your a lifestyle change? Like
I think
this
so.
Isn't like I'm going to stop doing this in like a year or something.
No, it's definitely lifestyle. I don't even feel hungry typically in the morning, so I just try to fast like noon or 2 p.m. 2 p.m. in the afternoon. That's kind of how it works with my work schedule too. So it's just kind of worked out.
Around like noon or 12:30, do people find you ornery or or like in a bad mood?
I don't think so. I remember when I first started doing it, I'd get really cold, but I was also like super focused. That was like one of the side effects of fasting, because because once you start eating, your body starts burning, like use that energy to break down and burn the food. That's when you actually get tired in the afternoon. That's like the 2 p.m. like when people want to yeah. So like with fasting, for some reason, like everything was just hyper focused. I was just cold all the time. But otherwise, I think I'm in a pretty chill mood.
Was it like July and like you're in the like wherever you're working with like a sweater on, like
Pretty
that
much.
dramatically cold?
Yeah, I'd be in the house with the AC and like a hoodie, sweatpants.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
How old were you when you started like lifting?
I think maybe 11 or 12. I went to the YMCA, and I remember I couldn't do free weights. Like I was super new to this. I think the first book I bought was like the Triple H workout book.
Oh God, that's so funny.
Started doing machines and like kind of got into free weights. I started like super lifting when I got my freshman year of high school because I was playing football at the time, and that's when I like got introduced to the weight room.
All right, I want to come back to that then. So did you grow up in Minneapolis?
Yep, I was born and raised in Minneapolis.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Chicago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So like winters are bad in Chicago, and I assume in Minnesota. I went to school in Madison, so like bad winters.
Yeah.
A friend of mine moved up to Minneapolis, and he's like, you would not believe it's like as if it's never snowed before. They don't plow the streets. And I'm like, I'm surprised because I would think that, Minneapolis, cities and, states up that way have a good system in place because they have it bad every year.
Yeah.
Is it bad? Like that where the streets don't get plowed?
I think that, last time I was there, the moment it snowed, plows are already out. Like the moment there's like a little bit of dusting, people are out there with sand trucks. Maybe things have changed with like climate change a little bit because it has been a little bit warmer. But typically, by the next morning, the streets are already plowed.
My friend might be crazy. That's also another. There's that as well. What did you like? Grow up in a suburb of Minneapolis, or actually like your mailing address was Minneapolis, Minnesota?
South Minneapolis. I was like right by like the Lake of the Isles, so I was right in the heart of the city.
Oh, okay. And did your parents grow up in the area?
My mom was actually from a small town in Wisconsin, Zeta. Nobody really knows where that is. And then my dad's actually from Cameroon, West Africa. So he immigrated here when he was like 17, 18 years old.
So how do they hook up?
I think they met at the University of Minnesota.
Oh, okay. And what? And then they like fell in love and got married.
I guess so.
Or they liked each other a lot.
Or something. And
yeah, close to love. That's fine. Yeah. I accept that in my life.
Yeah.
So then they came. Did your dad know anybody when he came over here?
I think one of his older brothers came. There's actually like a pretty strong, big Cameroonian population in Minnesota. So like typically with like a lot of immigrants, if one person comes over and like a small family, then like a lot of people start coming to the area. So like Minneapolis is like has a huge Somali population. That's just because a few people came over and then this is like a nice place to live, and then all of them come over. So.
Oh wow! Yeah. And was it? Do you know? Maybe you don't know this. Was it like a culture shock for your dad coming here?
From what he's told me, it was, especially coming back. I think he came here mid '80s. I could only imagine what Minnesota was like at that time.
Yeah. It was probably boring, like every city in this country at that time. But in a good way.
Yeah, I think he went to Pennsylvania first, and then he went to Minnesota, and then. Not only like not really knowing like he knew English, but coming over being an immigrant, and then just like the whole cultural dynamic of what the world was like in the late 1980s is probably crazy.
Has your father been back to Cameroon?
I think he goes back like every year. I actually went back to Cameroon with him like 10 years ago.
Oh wow! Was that the first time you had gone?
Yeah, it's definitely a cultural experience for sure.
Oh my God! Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions about that? How long's the flight? Was it from Minneapolis to?
I think it was Minneapolis to Paris. It was like 8 or 9 hours. And then we flew from Paris to, I forgot which country right above Cameroon. And then we flew from that country down. That was like another hour flight. I think by the time
just the two of you?
Yeah. Yep. My cousin, one of my cousins from Minneapolis already went out there. So my grandfather was the chief of our village. And once he passed away, my uncle became the new chief, and he was living in Minnesota at the time. So we were doing like this whole coronation process. My grandmother unfortunately passed away like 2 weeks before we flew out there. So then it was just like a whole ceremony with that. So we had to like speed up our trip and get out there as soon as possible. I think I got there like at 3 or 4 in the morning. So like not only being jet lagged, it was an 8 hour time difference. Just like my dad's from like a small village, so
Mhm.
there's no lights out there. Uh,
Oh, really?
like
What
it was
about
like
internet?
at least where we were, nothing. Like it was a 3 hour drive into like the middle of the jungle. Just
Were
like
you nervous at all?
I think I was just so like sleep deprived.
Okay. Yeah.
Couldn't even process what was going on. And
Uh-huh.
then waking up the next morning, because these people, it was like this whole like funerals are not a super sad thing. They're like a celebration of life.
Uh-huh.
So when I got there, it was this huge on our compound. Like we have a couple houses, huge party. Everyone's drinking. They're celebrating my grandmother's life.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like trying to fall asleep. Wake up at like 6 a.m. the next day, and then you like walk outside. You see Mount Cameroon in the distance, and then it's just like the jungle is right behind the houses. It was just I've never experienced like that anything like that in my life.
You just stand there with like your jaw dropped, like
Pretty much
trying
like
to take this all in.
yeah, we would go for walks. We like climbed half the mountain in a couple hours one time. It's just so different. Like you would
Was
never
it
imagine what it was
was it
like.
cool meeting family members for the first time?
Kind of. I think where I was at, like I was like 21.
Yeah.
It was weird because technically we're royalty there. So like I'm a
Uh-huh.
Cameroonian prince. People would
Oh,
talk to you in a way where they're like, "Oh, you can like you wouldn't have to lift a finger to get your food. They would make your food for you, do your laundry, do all your chores." Uh, but then at the same time, they're like telling you all these like historical, cultural things. It was just like a
yeah.
lot to take in. I was there for like 21 days.
Oh my God.
But then you could only go so far outside of the village. We had like a driver and security just because
Okay.
we got lost. There would be no way of finding us.
Yeah. Totally.
It was definitely like a trip of a lifetime, but it was a lot to take in.
Did it change you at all this 21 days there?
I think so. I think I had my own cultural perceptions of what countries are like in Africa. And the downtown city area is just like any metropolitan area, like paved
Yeah.
roads, skyscrapers, McDonald's, like super like normal stuff. But then when you go
Uh,
out of that city, then it's like you see like mud huts, tin huts. Again, no internet, no lights, no nothing. Just like barren land, jungle, wildlife back there. It was
did
yeah.
did you ever have the thought to yourself like, could I do this? You know what I mean? Like, could I live this type of lifestyle?
Kind of. I actually do want to go back. I think in the long run, it's like a nice retreat to just get away and really disconnect from everything. It's such a simple way of life where I don't
Yeah.
know what people did for work, but you just kind of lived. You would get your like go hunt your food, or like if you had farms in the backyard, you just have your food. You spend time with family. It was just such a simple way of life.
Did they make their own food? I mean, grow their own vegetables, have like livestock?
Yep. Yeah, we had like pigs in the back that got slaughtered, and that became our meals. We had people like going to get fruits and vegetables forever and like cleaning that stuff for us. So yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's amazing. So there's no need for money, right?
There is. I don't know. Like people would try to sell like cell phone minutes, at least from what I can remember.
Oh, okay.
Or there was like certain type of political powers. One of my uncles was in like this political position. I don't know how he made his income, but he had like a mansion. It was
Oh,
very
really?
strange. Yeah.
Oh my God. And he had security?
Like security drivers. It was, but you'd see that like mansion, and then you'd see like huts right next door. There was like no middle class. It was just a very separate divide of rich and poor there.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's crazy that you
Yeah.
can see like is it poverty?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
some of these places?
I would say so. It's not bad, but it's not
I
a
mean, they
lot.
have running water.
Yeah.
Okay, but um oh wow, that's amazing. So you might go back one day.
I think so. I think I'd love to go back just because I've definitely been more interested in our culture as I've gotten like in more professional wrestling and like reading
Yeah.
about the tribe that I came from. And I think that if my father passes away and his brothers pass away, there's like no way for my cousins and I to ever find that village, like to get back there, just because it was such a trek from the airport to getting to that place.
Yeah.
We don't know anybody. I don't know how we'd find it.
Is there a map?
Probably. I'm assuming that there would be, but I don't know how they got out there.
Yeah. And they had been living there for,
Like centuries.
decades.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Centuries, did you say?
I think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Hmm.
Um. Okay. Does being royalty get you anything from a very superficial standpoint?
Out there, it would. I wouldn't.
Okay.
I wouldn't have to do anything.
Okay. And have you found that it doesn't work this way, like in Minneapolis or Texas?
Not at all. I
No.
think
No.
people
Okay.
think of like royalty, and they're just like, oh, like you have these ideas from like books that you read or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you look at modern day royalty as being a real thing in the country. Like it's not really respected that way. Maybe in like
Yeah.
England,
Yeah.
but not here.
It's funny because immediately, so I've had COVID, and
Mhm,
so every morning I've been watching Wrestling Challenge,
mhm.
on Peacock. And today, it was I forget who it was, some squash match, but it was King Harley Race. So
Okay.
I'm listening to you talk about this, and I'm picturing like the purple cape with like the white, and you wearing a crown. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll get that out of mind. Let's go back. Let's get back to the United States.
All right.
Did you have siblings as well?
Yeah, I have just one sister.
Older or younger?
She's older than me.
Okay, like substantially.
I was just a couple years.
Oh, okay. Were you guys close, or were you? Are you guys close?
We're much closer now. When I was a kid, not so much.
Because boy and girl like type
I'm
thing.
not really sure. We just didn't get along.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Some people just don't like each other for a while. Takes a little bit.
Mm.
So when your dad came here, and
Mhm.
maybe you can speak for him. Did he know what pro wrestling was?
Maybe I remember when I got into wrestling, I told him that I was getting into it. He told me about Tito Santana, so
Mm-hmm.
he like had an idea that actually there's this thing called Wasua back in Cameroon where there's like their own variation of wrestling, amateur wrestling. So that's how the like chiefdom was actually decided was through these like huge wrestling events. And like the person that got slammed to the ground first would lose. And like that's how chiefs were decided back in the day.
How long would these matches go?
I think relatively quickly, like as long as you're
Okay,
taking
not hours.
no, like as long as you're
Okay.
taking someone down, like you're already winning. Now it's more of like an athletic competition, but they compare that kind of similar to pro wrestling.
Oh, okay. Is one more painful than the other?
I mean, I think over there you're just like throwing people on like the hard soil, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. You're not looking to protect them.
No, not really.
What does that get you winning one of those? Like, you could become a king,
At least back
like,
in
or
the
like back then?
yeah, back then you would become the chief. So like you would have ownership over these villages.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
nuts.
Yeah.
Man, that must be a great night after winning one of those fights.
I would think
Oh my
so.
God.
Yeah.
Who introduced you then to like pro wrestling that we see, on TV?
I had two really good friends of mine growing up. And I remember I think it was like 9 or 10, and they introduced me to Degeneration X. And like that was my first intro to wrestling. I had no idea what this was. That like they recorded it on a VHS tape and they put that in.
Uh-huh.
Like that was a new cool thing at school.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but once I like dove into that and found like the Hardy Boys, that and then I was sold. I was obsessed with those people.
Had you heard of wrestling up to that point where they put the DX tape?
Not at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so how old were you? Like early teens?
I was like I think like 10 years old.
Oh, okay, 10 years old. So
Yeah.
like is it one of these things you hear these stories like you were immediately hooked?
I think from what I remember, like probably like a slow burn, but then once I got into it, I became a fanatic. I was like majorly obsessed with wrestling,
Uh-huh.
begging my parents to buy pay-per-view so I could record them on VHS tape so I could have them.
Yeah, totally.
I used to like buy frames like this and make collages out of the WWE magazine, collecting
Really?
figures. Yeah, I was obsessed.
Oh, that's amazing. During the pandemic, I bought all of the old WWF magazines I had when I was a little kid. And
Mhm.
they're up there somewhere. But so, okay, so are your parents concerned at all? I mean, because it doesn't just take like a couple of minutes to make a collage or
Yeah,
something that fits in a frame like that. Did
I
they,
don't think
did
so. I
they
think
think it was weird?
I don't think they thought it was weird. I thought they just thought it was like a lot, just because of how fanatical I was about it.
Uh-huh.
Because I got to a point like where I convinced my mom to buy us a trampoline because I saw like the Hardy Boys DVD and like they had a trampoline wrestling federation, so I wanted to emulate that. So I got a track in the backyard. If I had money, I was going to build the ring around that.
Oh, wow.
Because in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, they're making biography DVDs. So when I become a wrestler, when I'm older, I'll have like we have camcorder footage of like our own backyard wrestling shows. So when this
Oh,
DVD is
wow.
made about me, like I have all this archive footage of what I was like as a kid that we can play
Yeah,
back.
yeah. They show the old, like on your
Yeah,
documentary, like the
yep.
old footage, and then make it like film on the side and
Yeah.
everything. Oh, that's that. So okay, what was your personality like
Uh,
at that age?
Definitely super quiet, introverted. If with my close friends, I'd be myself. I'd be super
Yeah.
expressive. I'm like very comfortable, but with like new people, I'm still the same. I'm pretty introverted, soft spoken
Oh,
person.
okay.
Yeah.
Would you say like animals more than people on a whole?
Back then, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Me
Yeah.
too. But how tall were you? How big were you at this time? At 10 years old?
10. And then I think like my height of my like fanatic self was probably like 13, 14. So
Uh,
maybe like 5'8", maybe like 180. I was like a good
oh, okay.
frame, yeah, going into my freshman year of high school.
So were you a good student?
I think so. I was probably like pretty average, but I used to take like advanced placement classes just because I kind of felt bored.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like a private school most of my life, so I was like forced to be in like these higher echelon of classes.
Yeah, yeah.
But like
It,
I was the person that where my friends would be cheating off my tests. Like I was the one that did my work.
oh, really?
Yeah,
That's kind of like a badge of honor.
yeah, I think so.
Someone asks if they can cheat off of you.
Yeah.
Were your parents like big on you getting education?
Oh, definitely. That's the reason why I got into wrestling so late. It was because I remember being a kid, and like, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a professional wrestler. Like that's what I want to do.
Hmm.
It's sure, maybe, but you're going to go to college first and get your degree, and then you can do whatever the hell you want with your life.
Oh, okay. And so in high school, so you play football?
Yep, I did football, basketball, and also did track.
Oh, what'd you do in track? What event?
I did the open 400, 4x4, 4x2, and open 200. I think I did a little bit of long jump as well.
Jeez.
I was all over the place.
That's an intense state, like a meet, like for a meet, like having all that stuff.
Yeah.
So did your parents have, so they want you to go to college.
Mhm.
If your parents didn't even taught you about that, would have you wanted that for yourself? Or would
Uh,
have you jumped right into getting trained?
Probably. I feel like a lot of people kind of fall out of love with wrestling, and like that's kind of what happened on the tail end of high school for me.
Hmm.
So when I got into wrestling, other than like being a professional wrestler, I was like, oh, it'd be cool to like make the WWE magazine. So I got into kind of like the graphic side of it, the design side of it. So when I was finishing high school and got into college, like, oh, I'd rather be like a graphic designer. I can make WWE magazines, or I can be the person that makes the branding for the pay-per-views. I still
Yeah,
be in
yeah.
wrestling, but I'm not actually doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was
And
like my plan at the time.
see, but that's good that you had a plan like that.
Mhm.
Like I wish, 20 some years ago, I kind of knew what I wanted to do and,
Mhm.
like guided my studies in that direction.
Yeah.
Um, so when does it start? So are you aware of independent wrestling by the time you go to college?
No, I had no idea.
Okay. And had you been to shows yet? Like WWE
Uh,
shows or,
did like a couple SmackDowns or like house shows when I come to Minneapolis.
mhm.
I didn't even like go to a ring. I didn't even know what ROH was until maybe like 25, 26 when I went to a show when they're in Duluth, Minnesota. Not Duluth, maybe St. Paul, Minnesota. I had no idea what independent wrestling was.
Were you training at that point yet even?
And I didn't start till I was
No.
27. Yeah.
So, okay, so you go to college.
Yeah.
Did you stay up in Minnesota?
I actually went to college down in Iowa, a small private college. And then I did some grad school out in California. Didn't really like San Francisco too much.
Yeah.
It was just like a lot to take in by myself. And then went back to Minnesota, did finish my grad school in Minneapolis. And then after I was finishing that, I was also working full time in the field that I was going to school for.
Okay.
And I was just like, this isn't it for me. Like I already felt something missing in my life. I didn't feel fulfilled. I couldn't see myself doing 9 to 5 for like the next 50 years.
Yeah, yeah, until retirement.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that's when I got like the spark to go back into the idea of maybe doing wrestling.
and during this time, does anyone know like that you're frustrated and
Um,
with the career and everything?
Probably my really good friends back home. They would hear me complain about it, and then
Mm-hmm.
probably my ex too at the time, just because coming home from like I was also taking like the bus from wherever I was living into the city for like 45 minutes, come back, go to grad school, like do grad school at night. So I was doing night courses, then I'd do the gym after that. And I was like, this sucks. Like this is not fun.
Yeah, totally.
Especially my first design job was just I was making publications from this place called Minnesota Monthly.
Okay.
I already like checked off a goal of art directing publications. I made bus ads. Like I saw stuff in Barnes and Noble that I was making.
Okay.
I just didn't care about the
Wow.
content, and the people that I worked with weren't the best. So I was just over that place.
Okay. I mean, when you spend like more time with like those people than you do with your family,
Yeah.
that's going to happen. You want it to be with people that you enjoy being around.
Yeah.
Okay, so when then do you start saying, you know what, I'm going to look for a trainer. I'm going to do this pro wrestling.
So it was literally the day the WWE 24 documentary about Seth Rollins came out. Like the year prior to that, I kind of started getting back into it. Unfortunately, like the Shield debuted because that grabbed my attention immediately.
Yeah, yeah.
It was literally a 24 documentary where I was like, I got goosebumps that day watching that in the living room. I was like, I think I need to do this. Like I knew I wasn't happy with where I was at in my life.
Uh-huh.
And then I just make decisions in my mind. And once I make that decision, I was like, I'm going to go for it. So I started looking up schools. There's the Black and Brave in Iowa. I was
Mm-hmm.
commit and move to Iowa by myself and just go do that.
Yeah.
Did find I forgot it was old WWE referee and somewhere in Minneapolis was training. I think it was where Eric Redbeard started.
Okay.
The ring was in some like weird industrial building and it was like sunken in the middle. There's only like a few people there, but that's where I was going to start until I moved to Maryland.
Okay.
And it was like trying to wrap my idea around, okay, you're going to pay $3,000 to get trained by someone that claims to work at WWE or used to, and just hope for the best and see how this goes.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So how did you make your decision?
So I was going to do that. And then
Mm-hmm.
by happenstance, we ended up moving to Maryland. My ex got a job out in Baltimore. So I was like, okay. In the transition, I was looking at schools out there. So I found MCW. I was like, all right, once I find a job, I'm signing up for that. And it took like 6 months. So fortunately, I started like January 4th of 2017. And then it was just off to the races after that.
Is this, how many nights a week is this?
Tuesdays and Thursdays from like 6 to 10. And then
Okay.
do like, so people can have birthday parties at the training center on the weekends. And like the students that are getting ready to perform in matches can have those training matches, like put on a show for the kids. But that's how you
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So it's like Tuesday, Thursday at least. And then typically for a good solid like 8 months or so, every Saturday, Sunday, I was doing birthday parties, at least showing up, setting up the ring, just like being around the atmosphere. And they'd have shows at MCW once or twice a month. So it became to like take over my life.
Were the birthday party shows fun? Like, were they mostly children?
It'd be like kid birthday parties or like older kids. Sometimes people would have like their bachelor parties there.
Oh, really?
But for
But
like
at least for like the younger kids, at least they're enthusiastic. You know what I mean? It's not like you're like making balloons in the corner, you know?
And I think it's a good way to start out as a wrestler. If you can make kids like boo you or cheer you, that's a great way to start your wrestling career. Like you can get over and entertain them. Then like, of course, you want to entertain the kids. Then the parents have to take the kids to the show. Then they have to buy your merch, and that's how you make money here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so you're gonna train at MCW.
Yep.
Is it? First question, and I hope this doesn't come off wrong. What made you think you could be a pro wrestler? Did you say like I have great cardio? I can talk. Blah blah blah.
I think just doing athletics my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I didn't think that I could do it, I just told myself I had at least have to try. Just because like I had a back injury in high school. And if I didn't try, I think I would have regretted not ever attempting to do this my whole life.
Sure.
And it was something that I was so obsessed with for such a long part of my life that I felt like I just like felt compelled that I have to do it.
So did you tell your parents at the time?
Yeah, they knew. I think like most parents are just kind of like, okay, well, like, because who's really going to believe if you're like, oh, I want to become a rock star? Like, okay,
You totally.
pipe dream. But then I think that was extra motivation for me because once
Mhm.
I started succeeding in this, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm getting signed to this place now, and now I actually get an income. Yeah, so like kind of shove it in your face that you didn't believe in me, and now I'm
Uh-huh.
succeeding. So
That's amazing. That's
yeah,
amazing. It's like having like getting a superpower for the first time.
yeah.
So prior to your first day of training, had you ever been in like a formal wrestling ring before?
Nope, never.
So on your way to
Mhm.
training that evening, were you nervous about it during the day at work?
Definitely nervous, anxious. I went twice prior to like watch the practices.
Oh,
So
okay.
prior to going, I would go to the trampoline park and I'd practice bumping because I would watch videos of how people would take bumps. So I was like practicing bumping. I saw some of the drills that they do, so I'd replicate the cardio drills at LA Fitness and just like try
Oh,
myself
cool.
like the best cardiovascular shape I could. I knew it was gonna be tough, but it was just trying to like keep an open mind. I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna be okay at this. I would look at people. I do like the eye test. And like, okay, I think I'll be better than them. And like, because
Yeah.
sign up for this and they want to try it out. But only so many people can actually succeed and be good at this. So
Did did how did you get into the ring?
I think the first 2 weeks we couldn't even get in the ring. We just did like simple lockups and like wrist holds in the corner and the back.
Uh-huh.
And then like
Really?
they taught us a proper way to get into the ring, like wipe your feet off, and then
Uh-huh.
everyone's kind of testing out because they always think it's springier than it is, and then you take
Uh-huh.
a bump and you're like, oh, okay, this actually kind of like is jolting to the body. You're throwing yourself
Yeah.
around.
Um did you did you take bumps when you weren't in the ring? Like at those in the first at the beginning?
I don't think so. No.
So when you did get in the ring and you had been practicing on a trampoline,
Yep.
did taking the bumps come a little easier to you, or was it still like a shock when you hit the mat?
It was still a shock, but I remember one of the coaches, Dean, being like, "Oh, you look like a natural at this." I'm like, "Yeah, well, I've been practicing doing this for like
Yeah. Totally.
months, so
If
I tried
you
to make sure I was ready as best I could."
if you got thrown out of a first floor window,
Mhm.
would you know how to land better than say like me? Like if I
I think so. I think
based on your training.
I think so. Like you learn, like learning roles. I think that stuff really comes into play with like some type of survival skills. Because I remember
Yeah.
reading about Bo Dallas got ejected through his window, and he like forward rolled off the front of the car, and like those things.
Really?
Yeah, so I think you're either gonna just land on your feet if you fall off something, but or you're like tuck and roll because you want to take the momentum away from all
Uh-huh.
this like, gravity pulling you down. So just like little stuff like that, I think comes into play.
Yeah, I think so. Again, it's like you guys have like a superpower.
I think so.
When I say you guys, talented professional wrestler,
Mhm.
giant, like so those are royalty.
Yep.
Um, so in what was like the most difficult thing to pick up on as
Uh,
like a new trainee?
I think remembering like all the holds and stuff that you were learning.
Uh-huh.
Because it's the first time, it was the first time in my life since school where I was a beginner at something that I sucked at. And like you were learning something all over again, hands on. And when
Uh-huh.
you're not picking it up very quickly, that's very frustrating. So just like writing down things that we were learning, because everyone's throwing you different information all the time. And then you start
Hmm.
learning people have different opinions on how things should be done. And you're just like, well, then who the hell am I listening to? They said do it this way.
Yeah.
They say do it that way. And you're trying to remember all this, but then you're also not trying to like break your ankles as you run and hit the ropes.
Do you
Uh,
have like a mentor at that time where you can someone you can go to and kind of decipher whose advice you should be following, whose you shouldn't?
Not really. It's just like you just have the coaches, RJ and Dean, just saying like, shut up and listen. Do not talk back, and then just take your mental reps because it's like a lot to take it in from 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah.
The biggest pet peeve for a lot of people coaching, and even when I help new people now, is
Uh,
if you're like eighth in line and you're not paying attention and like they do this drill and everyone's doing it right and then you mess it up because you weren't paying attention, that will piss someone off so quickly.
oh yeah, and you learn that like right
Yeah.
away that
Yep.
like
So
and there are still
just
people
all
who
the time. Yeah.
Really?
Hmm.
But why would they want to become a professional wrestler and half-ass that?
They have no idea. They can get out of the
What
business.
what what surprised you the most for like from being a wrestling fan? Like what was surprising the most about with training?
Hmm. I think the amount of cardio that we were doing, that was a lot. Like it's a lot of cardio. And you don't think about like how this is basically like CrossFit games, powerlifting, because you're picking people up, but then you had to sprint to do spots, and then the
Yeah,
stamina that you needed to have, and as well as like it's all the physical things, and then okay, facial expressions, registering moves, selling. How do you like get the crowd into it? All this like acting part of it too that you don't even think about. I think that's
yeah,
like once you started getting to like ROH and thinking about TV camera angles and facial expressions, there's a whole different level of training than other just like the physicality of wrestling.
do you have like, and this is probably you wouldn't, do you have like a notepad that you care like
I
that
have
you have early on with like, oh, I should write that down?
nope. I
Or does
always
that look too nerdy?
I always suggest bringing a notebook because you're never gonna remember everything that people are telling you. Notebook, have notes app on your phone. I record
Uh-huh.
videos of stuff because it's just we've taken so much information every day from just like social media or whatever you do every day. So to try
Mhm.
to like take in information for 3 to 4 hours and try to remember that in one day, it's not gonna happen. So just I tell people to take notes all the time.
Can you become a successful pro wrestler only going to like your 2 nights a week, 6 to 10, and you don't practice the stuff any days in between? Can you become a good wrestler with 8 hours a week?
I think that's subjective. I think people
Okay.
probably could, but it's
Hmm.
also the work outside of that, the days in between where you're watching wrestling. You're like, I remember people would come in and tell us practice how you would sell things or wrestle an invisible man at home to like go
Hmm.
through spots in your head. And even now, just like watching wrestling, watching movies and TV shows, taking in character stuff, researching, writing stuff down. It's
Yeah.
constantly top of mind, almost 24/7.
Can you watch wrestling as a fan still?
It's tough. It
Is
is really
that
tough. Yeah.
is that angering at all? Like,
Not necessarily, but I think the business has changed. You try to like take yourself out of it and think of it not as a job.
yeah,
But I remember like why I fell in love with wrestling, and it's because the Hardy Boys back in the day, and to try to find people that can like the wrestling has changed. Like it's not
yeah,
you see storylines, but I don't know. That nothing's really grabbed me. It's nothing like emotional 6 months build of
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Like it doesn't feel the same anymore. It's just like, oh, let's do cool stuff, and that's gonna get a huge reaction. But like, what about the underdog babyface that's been getting his beat up for 8 months, who's finally going to like defeat the villain? That's the stuff that I care
Uh,
about. Yeah,
at this time, does your day job know that you're training to be a pro wrestler?
yeah. I would tell people, and
They say
again,
stupid stuff to you.
not even dumb, but again, it's just people like, oh, that's interesting. Because at work, at least at that job, I'd be very reserved, and they're like, oh, you like never talk though, and you're gonna go do that, and I'm like, yeah, yep, I'm gonna go do that.
At MCW, is talking and developing a character
Mhm.
part of the training?
Yep, we do promo classes every Tuesday. I remember Coach Nat would give us like assignments, and then you'd go like study promos. I'd just like write down scripts because you would have to. I was very introverted, so you had to
Yeah.
get out of your shell and perform in front of your peers. And sometimes some of the older vets would come by and watch with the coaches. That
Is that intimidating?
it was at first, but I think
Mhm.
doing it every week, I was getting into a really good groove because I was at least back then, in my opinion, I was cutting some amazing like emotional promos where people are just like, "How are you doing that?" But I was
Wow.
also watching like I don't know, I was watching whatever movies or TV show at the time that I try to pull character influences from, or pull from like super emotional stuff, and then I just
Hmm.
once I just go, I just start letting it out.
What point did you say to yourself, you know what, I'm pretty good at this?
uh, dang, maybe
Like
like
years into your career?
I think a couple of years in. I think when I was starting to have uh maybe matches with people. Like I'd like to call matches on the fly in practice. That's the
Uh,
way to be. If anything ever goes wrong, you can like slow down and communicate with whoever and like kind of take control.
hmm.
Um, so I feel like 3.5, 4 years, 4 years in. But that's my own subjective opinion. I think
Yeah.
I'm at this. So
Did when it was time for your first match, do
mhm.
you just wait to be told, or do you kind of say, "Hey, I think I'm ready," to somebody?
uh, I think my first match was 4 months in. Um,
Wow.
I remember my coach just kind of telling me, this is when I kind of learned how everything can change on the fly. Because I'm like, oh, yeah, you're going to have your first match. You're going to do it against this guy. So him and I were practicing for a few weeks. And then the day of, oh, now it's going to be a tag match. You guys are going to wrestle these two other people. Good luck. And I was like, it was at a birthday party. So the pressure should not have been there because it was just in front of kids. But it's your
Yeah.
first time wrestling out there with like full gear trunks with, you didn't
Yeah.
know what you're doing. So I was terrified.
And at that time, dude, like they tell you go buy whatever trunks and boots.
No, I think I already had an idea in my mind, so I already bought custom boots. Like once I signed up, I got custom boots and I got gear. So I was like, this is how I want to. I remember I was pulling. At least I still do it kind of now. Like Triple H was someone I was a huge fan of. I hated him as a heel, but the way that those top stars would present themselves, like everyone wore black trunks, black boots, knee pads. I was like, I know I'm physically fit, so why not present myself in that way? If anything, I know I'll look good. So I just went and bought some stuff.
Is that addicting? Getting ring gear and stuff.
I don't think it's addicting. It's definitely expensive.
Is it? What's the most expensive piece of gear that you own, if you can say that?
Getting 2 pairs of pants and like 2 vests was probably like $1,100. They last a long time.
Custom made.
Yeah, like custom fitted. But they just took like 6 months. It's just everyone's getting gear. I think wrestling's there's a lot of people in wrestling, so everyone's getting gear all the time. It just takes forever.
Yeah, yeah. So at what point do you hit the road and start? And how do you, like, when I say hit the road, like how do you know where to go?
So I actually I like barely did the independence when I was in Maryland. And within the year and a half, I was at ROH. So
yeah,
with ROH, like 3 years, and then I didn't start doing the independence really until this past year.
Okay, that's so. How do you then get? So I assume you know Ring of Honor by this point in your training.
Barely.
Still,
yeah.
So what did you think was going to happen after you started training?
I had no idea, honestly. So I went to like one ROH show, and ironically, I went to one of the final battles when I lived in Baltimore.
Okay.
But I never looked at that in my mind as like the career goal here, because I don't even know how people got signed there. It was just, to me, it was like a bigger independent promotion. Like they had a huge show at the UMBC Center, but I didn't know how people got there. I just knew WWE had NXT and they had tryouts. So like I think.
So was that like? Were you thinking yourself, I have to?
Probably.
I'm gonna have to end up doing tryouts for NXT. Yeah. Is that like what you thought is the next step?
So. Like, because we had Leo Rush and Velveteen Dream come from MCW, so I think that was just like this trajectory. You didn't really know. There was no AEW at the time. There was really, how do you get to New Japan? You're just like, okay, I'm gonna just wrestle until I guess I get a trial, or you're like still figuring out the independent scene, because I didn't even know really what that was either. Like, how do people make a career on independence? And they do, but I just had no idea that was a thing.
And when you found this out that it was a thing, did it like blow your mind? Like how many promotions there are that you could, wrestle for?
That's still mind-boggling to me. There's promotions literally everywhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. Do you have IWTV?
I do, actually. That and the matchup. I just didn't understand how people, just because of the way that I was raised, and like I went to college, so I always had this thing in my head, like, need to have health insurance. I have like a retirement account or whatever. Like I have this 9 to 5. Wrestling to me was like a side hobby. I guess until I could make it in WWE or somehow get there. But like grinding on the independence, I did not feel like I was built for that. Just like, especially at that time, I wasn't really like, I was a go-getter, but I didn't even know how to like go about making merch. How do you get all your shirts and stuff made? Are you really trying to drive 10 hours to make because it's make it seem like you'd only make like $40. I'm not gonna go spend 2 days to make $40. I'm gonna lose more money. So why would I go do that? I felt
so
entitled.
Have you at that time, did you express this feeling to anybody?
At least when Moses and I started tagging,
Yeah.
we would go do some of the closer independents to us. Like there was like 2 or 3, but I remember just him and I thought the same way. Like I'm not gonna go drive 6 hours to lose $100 on an opportunity to wrestle people, because MCW had really good wrestlers there, and the time that they'd bring it for these shows, those are veterans that you could work with to help get you better.
Yeah.
Like from what I was hearing, working independence, so a lot of people, honestly, in my opinion, aren't that great. So you have to really take it upon yourself to get better by like becoming this shot caller, like ring veteran. Otherwise, you're gonna just have crappy matches. Like I don't know how I couldn't understand at that time how you're gonna grow, become a better wrestler, not working people better than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like wouldn't go do it.
So how do you get on Ring of Honor's radar?
So Joey Mercury came back to MCW. He was doing some coaching a little bit. I remember he got a job at ROH. So he was trying to build like his own NXT developmental system. And I remember he had a group of us veterans at MCW, and he was like, all right, they're going to start having tryouts, because how are they going to start supplementing new talent? I know I trust you guys. Like there's like 5 or 6 of us. I'll pull y'all over there, or at least go have tryouts, but like you're with me. I'm going to get you there. I see potential in you guys, and like we will start working some stuff with you guys. You need to know how to work TV, because in his mind it was like developmental system, but also how do you know how to work TV and like learn how to work in this entertainment business if you don't have the experience doing so? ROH has the platform. It's a smaller platform, but like we'll get you here so you can get ready for WWE if that ever happens.
Did you like say to like any of your buddies, like, yeah, have you heard about this Ring of Honor place? Like, you know what I mean? Like, did you think that it was obscure?
I don't think it was obscure. I remember hearing about the trial. I didn't want to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
why?
I felt like I was only at MCW for like 1.5 to 2 years, and I felt like my life was going to change again, because I knew they were training like Monday through Thursday, and trying to maintain that on top of like my home life with a full-time job felt like a lot of stress that I did not need. So I just was like, I didn't want to do it.
But then what made you do it?
Talking to Ken Dixon. I remember talking to him. He's been training a little bit longer than I have.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, man, I don't think I want to do it. He's like, well, why not? I was like, because I don't know what's going to happen. And that at the time just kind of scared me. He's like, why? He's like, you don't know what's going to happen, but like, why wouldn't you go take that opportunity? He's like, this could be great things for you. Like, and then I remember talking to the coaches about it, and then I ended up being there. So
how long's the tryout?
Oh man, it was like 2 days. I think we were there for like 8 or 9 hours in full gear, just standing there. That was probably the most brutal thing I've ever done, just standing for like watching 20 tryout matches. That sucked.
Oh God. Yeah. And do you know at this point of like the history of Ring of Honor, you know, like Punk and Bryan Danielson and Christopher Daniels, you know, like
I think a little bit. I knew Punk was there. I knew Seth Rollins was there and Kevin Owens. But I remember once I got to the tryout and like when I started going to the dojo more, Brian Johnson at the time was like, everyone needs to watch this product and like get the history of this product, because if you're gonna work here or like try to make it here, you need to watch the show. So then I got old school ROH DVDs, and I just thank God they have the YouTube channel with all the old matches, and I just like started diving headfirst into that.
So when they so what happens? Like they give you a call afterwards and say, hey, would you want to come?
The day 2 of the tryout, I remember it was me, Ashanti the Adonis, aka Hootie Miles from Hit Row, Moses, and myself. And like, okay, we're all done getting undressed because we just wanted to go eat at that point.
Yeah.
One of the guys who was already in the dojo, Joe Keys, came over and said, hey, like BJ says they want you. So they kind of just like came and told us in secret. And it's like, all right, starts tomorrow. Like, be here at 4. Like, okay, shit, now it's about to get real.
In your head, are you thinking, oh my God, I can quit my job?
Not even.
Or you haven't gotten there far yet.
In my mind, I'm like, how the hell am I going to get out of work early enough to get here on time?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
DC.
So getting selected, but that brings like a whole other set of stress to your life.
Yep, definitely.
So what got cut from your life that Ring of Honor took over? Little bits of everything?
work definitely changed. Fortunately, it's super flexible. I could work from full time.
Oh, nice.
So they were pretty lenient with that. The relationship at that time ended just because like they weren't the greatest supporter of me getting into wrestling. So I was like, well, this if you don't support me like chasing my dream and actually is like kind of being successful at it right now, like then you don't need to be a part of this journey with me.
Yeah.
Um, just like that. And I really like the time commitment alone. It was Monday through Thursday, 4 to it's supposed to be from like 4 to 8. But if people were talkative, you might be there till 9:30. 9:30, 10 o'clock. After that, you go to the gym for like an hour and a half. Then you get home. I literally have maybe 20 minutes of like eating dinner at 11 p.m., go to sleep, wake up at 7, drive 45 minutes to work. And I did that Monday through Thursday.
Were you seeing anyone as well?
My girlfriend was wrestling at the time.
Oh, really?
It was,
So that worked
yeah,
out well schedule-wise, right?
I think so. And I think it was a good distractor to just really, for like a good year, just like eyes on the road. This is what I'm committing my life to. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and I didn't have anyone to like go home to like worry about other time commitments. So I got to like really structure my life, and I
Uh-huh.
was living alone, and I had like a new townhouse, and it worked out great for that time. So it was super busy, but at least it just distracted me constantly from like dealing with other shit that I needed to have in my life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm not saying this negatively, but the different could you tell a difference between say MCW and Ring of Honor?
Oh, immediately. It was
Really?
that was also nerve wracking because I knew people that I was going to start training with were either on my level or above me. And I was like, okay, now I need to start picking it up again. It's like you're graduating to the next level. And then you could feel it when you're training with people. The tempo and speed picks up quickly. Like calling stuff is faster.
Uh,
And then just like the physicality, which I enjoyed that, but like you're like, okay, that I need to really like step it up now. Cause it's like going from college football to the NFL. At least in my head, that's
yeah.
how that felt.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
And at this point, has your family seen you wrestle in person?
They never see me wrestle until
Friends?
maybe like 2 months ago.
Really?
Mm.
Because of the pandemic?
Just because they lived in Minnesota, and then they never like came out to Maryland. They came out to Maryland like once, but I just didn't have shows at the time.
Uh-huh.
I finally got to wrestle back in Minnesota back a few months ago, and then everyone came out finally. So
Oh, did you like during the match like make eye contact with like
it was
your mom
probably
or your
most
dad?
more nerve wracking like shows, just because 30 people there knew who I was outside of wrestling.
Okay.
See like all my family members come out for the first time. It's weird, uncomfortable for me to watch it back just because they're so excited and cheering. I'm like, oh, that's
Yeah.
like it's like a whole different side of my personality that they've never seen before. My dad told me that he was just like, I don't know who that person is. Like, well,
Wow.
that's who I portray on TV.
So you can tell they're very proud of you.
I think so. Yeah. Like even my nephew, when he told me that he was proud of me, I broke down.
Oh, wow. How
Yeah.
old's your nephew?
I think he's 15 now.
Oh, wow. Coming from a 15-year-old. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me ask you, what's the well, I'll get to it in a second. So, Ring of Honor,
Mhm.
they're on, is hiatus the right term?
I think so, yeah, hiatus until April apparently.
Yeah, does that throw your life upside down?
I mean, my contract was coming up in February, uh,
Uh-huh.
so I was kind of preparing myself to see what was going to happen at the time. I have some good friends in different places, so
Yeah. And
contract was
now you
coming up.
see there's 50 zillion places you can
Yeah,
go work.
exactly. Like contract was coming up. I didn't really know how they felt about us in the first place, just because
Uh-huh.
6 man titles great, like made history with that, but
Yeah.
in my head, like Moses and I think there was a great opportunity there. The Briscoes have run ROH for the past 20 years. They've been there since the
Yeah.
beginning. But they had no, like, they have people coming from other indies. But I thought if you were going to make stars from this developmental system, why not have Moses and I, this tag team, be the one that like challenges the Briscoes? Like, they could have helped us grow so much as the tag team, but
Yeah.
we only wrestled them like twice. And we just
Really?
like some missed opportunities there. We could have been in the ring with those guys all the time, told great stories, like this history, this new blood.
Yeah.
It's never happened.
And building you guys up so is that like disappointing?
No, because like in the grand scheme of things, the fact that I'm even wrestling is a win for me.
Yeah, that's
If
true.
I focused on all that stuff too much, then I'd probably be depressed all the time.
Do you oh, I forgot to ask you this early on. Before you became a pro wrestler, had you ever lifted somebody above your head?
Never.
Okay. What about like this high?
Probably, yeah, at some
Okay.
point.
Okay. Another question is, I forgot to ask you, do you ever worry walking out on going out on the town at night in the middle of the night that someone's gonna mess with you? Or you don't have to worry about that at all?
More so nowadays when people, if I like, whenever I go do anything in life, like go grocery store or anything, people like stalk me and ask me about my physique and like ask me what I do in the gym. I think that's what like happens. Like, oh, what do you do? Do you play professional sports or
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like that? But I don't really go out. I don't have like a social life at night or anything. I don't care to go out anymore.
Uh-huh.
So
Do you have children?
no, I do not.
Oh, you're so lucky.
Just a dog.
Um, do you want what kind of dogs do you have?
I got a 3-year-old pit bull.
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Would he is like so you don't need to sleep with a bat beside your bed. You have the dog.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, my dog's this big. I have to keep an aluminum bat next to my bed. Not that big. Oh, well, one more one more question. So like in September, a friend from Minneapolis came down to visit my brother and I in Chicago. And I said, "Yeah, have you gone to any? Are you going to any Vikings games this year or any T Wolves games?" He's like, "Not if I want to get shot." Is it that bad? Like, is it that difficult to go see a game?
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
people were telling me that when I went back to visit for the holidays.
Uh,
Every city in this country has crime.
yes, right? Like,
I don't think it's that. I think the pandemic has definitely made people desperate. Like that has
yeah.
we've never experienced like anything like this in our life before. And a lot of
Mhm.
people lost jobs, lost family members. So the times have changed. I don't think Minneapolis is that dangerous.
Yeah, I was shocked when I heard. I'm like,
Yeah.
but you used to have season tickets to these things. You don't go. You don't see the Twins anymore. Um, okay, I'm sorry. I had some questions about Minneapolis and the
Mhm.
surrounding area. Um, okay, listen, I'm gonna let you go in a minute
All right.
because I'm starting to get like exhausted from this goddamn COVID. Um, I haven't hugged my kids in over a week,
Oh, wow.
which in some aspects is a good thing. Can I ask you though 5 non-wrestling related questions, yes or no's?
That's fine with
And
me.
I will, with the caveat that I usually run these by my wife, but since I've been quarantined for the last week, I just try to use my own judgment.
Gotcha.
Um, okay, are you a fan of Israeli trance music?
I don't think so.
Okay, can you pick a lock and operate a getaway car?
Probably not.
Damn it.
Mm,
Okay, for $175,000,
okay.
would you let a family member sketch a tasteful nude drawing of you?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I love the honesty. Have you ever traveled to Russia on Christmas Day to compete in a boxing match to avenge your best friend's death? His name happens to be Apollo in a boxing ring.
That would be a great story, but I haven't.
No.
Mm-mm.
Interesting. All right. And do you, like me, believe that black licorice is disgusting?
Yeah, it's gross.
Okay.
Yep.
It's sickening, right? Like,
Sick.
I don't even know why I was thinking about it. All right, you 5 for 5. That was insane. You did great. Very confident as well. So, do you have stuff booked for the next couple months, or
I
seeing
do.
where things go?
I'm. It's apparent like, ironically, I'm not really wrestling in Texas so much the next few months. I got
Mhm.
shows in New York, New Jersey, Wisconsin, and back to Minnesota. Maybe going back to Orlando.
Oh
As
wow.
AEW stuff coming up.
Uh
So
huh. Oh, I didn't even have time to ask you about that. Was that? I'll ask you real quick. Is that like a badge of honor, like getting? Assume you got invited to wrestle.
I did. I
Like,
guess
are
so.
you able to say, "I'm proud of myself"? Like,
I
it's
think
pretty
I am proud of
impressive.
myself that I got to get in the ring with Andrade. In my opinion, he's one of the greatest wrestlers right now. Like
Yes.
he's phenomenal.
Is it overwhelming?
I don't think so. Like I look at
Oh,
the
okay.
opportunity as like something that I had to step up to, and I just wanted to make moments and
Yeah.
did that. So as long as like, especially being by myself doing that, I was like, I had to just really grab onto the confidence that I have. I'm like, no, like I deserve to be here. They
Yeah.
brought me here. They brought me back again. Clearly, they see something in me, and I also see that in myself. So it's
Oh God.
time to show
That
out.
must be a great feeling. Like if you said to your parents, like, "Hey, listen, I'm wrestling for AEW Dark," would they know the significance?
No, I
Oh,
tell my
you're
friends,
wrestling in the dark?
yeah,
No,
they have
no.
no idea what the hell this is.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So they haven't seen your AEW Dark
They've seen it, but they
stuff.
just don't. When I talk to people about wrestling that don't know what this is, they don't. They like can't. I get it. Like they can't grasp the concept of like how.
Yeah, yeah.
Like yeah, man, I've been on national television before. I've been on pay per view. Like oh, that's okay, cool.
Yeah, totally. Oh, you think you're a movie star now?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have an IMDb page?
I think I do
I
from our.
think you automatically get one for being on AEW programming.
Yeah, I think they started back when I was in ROH pay per views. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I was really looking forward to this all day. And let me be 100% honest. I was very intimidated by you, but I'm glad I got through it and I faced my fear. But no, it was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm deeply grateful for you coming on and giving me this time.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much.
All right, you take care and stay healthy, and hopefully I'll talk to you again.
Sounds good to me. Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
You too.